Counter-Narrative News wanted to bring you an important historical political development in recent years. It's pertaining to the campaign of growing white supremacist racism against migrants and against immigration, particularly those people from the global south. 2015-2016 was a critical juncture in history in this regards, where this racism was peaking as a result of both liberal and right-wing wings of Western imperialism. But also contributed massively to this racist campaign was the new pole in the world of the Russian state and its leadership of Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, and Vladimir Putin himself. This was around the way that Russia and the Syrian government essentialized migrant flows out of Syria because of the Syrian conflict there. And they essentialized all these migrants as basically young men who are all terrorists, all the horrible, brown-skinned, evil Muslim Al-Qaeda terrorists coming in their hordes to invade the lovely, cultural, white, perfect European space and to defile the white Europe and its women, etc. And you know, the Russian leadership and its global media, propaganda, political infrastructure massively pumped this line in coordination and in harmony strategically with the most toxic right-wing racist forces in the West, particularly Nigel Farage and the far-right Tory regime, leading to the Brexit victory on June the 24th in 2017, and also Trump's victory himself to the White House. So in January 2016, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov calls on the German authorities to provide all the details of his investigation into a claim of a 13-year-old Russian immigrant girl in Germany that she was abducted and raped by racialized migrants. After much investigation by the German authorities, they proved that she was not raped and abducted, and this wasn't the case. However, the Russian leadership in the case of Lavrov doubles down on this and claims that the German authorities are attempting to cover up for some domestic political reasons. And so you can see how the Russian leadership gave such primary importance to this in their political advocacy and propagandizing, in their relations with leading states in the West, in this case Germany. And this was like leading issues in their Russian media, in Russia Today, in Sputnik Radio, and their whole media infrastructure. And once the German authorities had conveyed to the Russian leadership that there's nothing here pointing to the fact that she was raped and abducted by racialized migrants, Lavrov doubles down on this, and he says he hopes that the German authorities are not hushing up the whole issues. Quote, "I hope these issues do not get swept under the rug. Problems need to be laid out honestly and admitted to the voters. Open and clear solutions need to be proposed." End of quote. So again, you can see how the Russians are. It's not like a peripheral issue. This is center ground, frontal, first thing that they were campaigning on through their media and through their political leadership as well globally. And then in an interview with the Financial Times, which is basically the newspaper of the ruling elites, it's not for the masses, on the June the 28th, 2019, the Financial Times interviews Vladimir Putin on the eve of the G20 summit in Osaka, Japan, and where Vladimir Putin says the quote-unquote the liberal idea has outlived its purpose. And liberalism being like the dominant Western ideology since the Second World War. I mean, it's racist and colonial and trashy in its own particularly sophisticated racist way. And this type of anti-liberal advocacy posturing towards the far right by Vladimir Putin chimed with the leaders like Donald Trump, Hungary's Viktor Orban, Matteo Salvini, Italy, and now the Prime Minister of Italy, another far-right, Meloni, the far-right Tory-led Brexit insurgency in UK, which was victorious. And so, to quote Putin in this June the 28th, 2019 interview in the Financial Times, liberals cannot simply dictate anything to anyone, just like they have been attempting to do over the decades. And that Angela Merkel, the leader of Germany at the time, admitting more than 1 million refugees to Germany, mainly from Syria, Putin argued was a cardinal mistake, and he praised Donald Trump for trying to stop the flow of migrants from Mexico. Quote from Putin: "This liberal idea presupposes that nothing needs to be done about the migrants, that migrants can kill, plunder and rape with impunity because their rights as migrants have to be protected." He adds, "Every crime must have its punishment. The liberal idea has become obsolete. It has come into conflict with the interests of the overwhelming majority of the population." End of quote. So again, it's naturalizing Western populations as basically being majoritarian, white, European, etc. What's the consequences of this type of advocacy of Lavrov and Putin? The consequences is the organized project and campaign of the racists, be it on a state level, in Hungary, Italy, Britain, US, etc., but also on a non-state level linked to the state far-right advocacy of the fascist and neo-Nazi and far-right grassroots. And what's their work? Their work is to create hatred, violent hatred that informs violent attacks by racist states and racist grassroots against generally children of migrants and the more vulnerable sections of migrant communities, which is really, it's young people, it's children, it's elderly people, it's women, etc. That is the consequence. So there's still a lot of people who are trying to kind of make excuses, cover up for, whitewash this open, explicit far-right advocacy from the Russian leadership for years now. It's right there in front of everyone's nose. It cannot be denied. And it's really important in the interests of the global struggle of working class communities, especially black and brown communities, in a struggle against racism, that we're very clear who our friends are and who our enemies are, what is the political nature of different leaderships and states, and how this can be of help or a disservice or a hindrance to the best interest for the unity and the liberation towards socialism and anti-imperialist independence of the global grassroots. Many thanks.